Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of XFeed. If you've never tuned into this, basically we read your tweets. You might have a dog take, or you might have a great take, or you might have a take that you think is good. Everybody else thinks is horrible, and vice versa. Appreciate you guys tuning in. A whole bunch to go over. We're going to be talking about RWAs, some drainages that ended up happening, trying to warn people of that, some different things across the space, and going over some origin stories of individuals you've probably seen on your timeline. So first off, Quick says, unfortunately, that they got drained. Basically, they were noticing the Pudgy Penguin announcement with the frame airdrop and ended up clicking a link. So just a friendly reminder, if you're out there using anything on X, be sure not to click on the comments, go through the official links, and try to practice best wallet hygiene. For anybody that's playing Gods and Goblins, I've noticed within like the past 15 hours, I'm starting to win a lot more. Had a hell of a time doing that. If you're trying to get those minted goblins, well, now might be the time to do so. Beanie saying, I really think meme coin mania was driven by utility tokens failing to deliver on utility and people just wanting to counter that narrative with one that's complete opposite. But I think a return to utility is due. It's the only sustainable crypto model. Tokens must have a use. There did seem to be a whole hell of a lot of tokens that are supposed to have some kind of utility, and how many of them actually had it? True! Not many. Yo, what's going on? Mr. Atari, how in the halibut are you? Do you like fish? You ever gone to a food truck and order fish? It's a little bit of a side thing, but just saying, it's not bad. Okay, so we highlighted on X, if you happen to follow me, the announcement between Futureverse and Animoca. So let me just play this short super quick, and then we'll kind of digest it. Futureverse had an unbelievably huge announcement today, partnering with Animoca brands, and it sounds like it was a swap in equity. They specifically highlighted within the announcement that it was to support the Futureverse token ecosystem, including Root, Silo, and Asto, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is absolutely insane. But for Mochaverse specifically, it's one of the most highly touted, respected collections that I feel that's out there, and this kind of plays into the role of, okay, well, if Futureverse potentially offers these Mochaverse NFTs, Future Score, well, that's what Animoca is trying to do with being connected with all of this. And again, those Mocha tokens specifically are coming out. And so does this mean for people that are staking Root that we are going to get Mocha token in there for the Vortex? There's your little bit of speculation. Now, following up to that, Mochaverse recently made an announcement yesterday saying, publishing a chart about their ecosystem and partners, and massive ones on here. Ton, Barachain, Ronin Network, Polygon, Solana, ImmutableX, Arbitrum. No mention here of the Root Network. Oh my goodness. Now, I did post this in the Futureverse Discord, and a couple people responded saying, oh, well, it's going to take like upwards of 2 months for the deals to be signed, but that announcement went out, and I just felt, if this is a significant enough partnership, and if this graphic is older and they just didn't update it, it just feels like, why wasn't that added? Could have been something that's kind of easy to do, but either way, big news. And if you missed all the details, we did cover that on last Friday's one. We didn't do a stream yesterday because yesterday was El Canada Day, so welcome back. Atari, imagine Animoca using the data layer on their entire catalog. Yo, listen, people think I'm crazy talking about this whole silo thing. The asset register, the Oracle, notifications, messaging for all of this stuff. Listen, that's kind of crazy. Now, some other kind of speculation here is Catalyze Research is a huge deal. And for anybody that doesn't know, they are somebody who is working specifically on research within the blockchain space. And from my understanding, they're out of Korea, and they highlighted with the Tradeverse that, and I quote, I am confident the Tradeverse will lead the way in the mass adoption of the Root Network and XRPL NFTs. And I had kind of a thought, and I want you to think about this for a second as well. What are the top NFTs on different chains that are out there? Think of Arbitrum, think of Coinbase, think of Solana, Ethereum, Flow. I mean, Solana, I think it's Mad Lads for one that's, not your less than 10K type deal. I mean, CryptoPunks on Ethereum, there's some really highly touted things, but for XRP, what the hell is it? You couldn't name it because it's not there. So I wonder, first of all, well, for Root, it's probably going to be fluffs once they get bridged. And then if XRP really takes it up, because the whole idea with Root is supercharging that, it could be interesting. But the fact that they're highlighting Tradeverse in this light and connected to all these things, feeling pretty good. Okay. Atari's favorite here, talking a little bit about Doodles. So there has been some wild happenings over the weekend, if you guys have not been aware. For several different Web3 based teams, there was some rechange of the staffing where certain people got let go, and it's caused quite a backlash. So quickly here from Chief, he says, as an early community member and mentor of Doodles, I'm going to talk about something I don't want to, but I need to because I care and it breaks my heart. Doodles is moving away from being a community first company. Now, this is kind of the exact same references that's going on with Cool Cats, and I think a lot of other collections where I don't remember if it was Burnt Toast or another individual on the Doodles team, but they were like, we're not an NFT company anymore. And when you look at the past and the things that have kind of flushed out, there is a lot that hasn't been able to stay with any kind of relevance, and there's some that have. And obviously people are looking for different changes, but let's read on. Once brands get to a certain point, they don't even need a core community. It's more of a burden to them than anything. Generally agree. They now have a widespread audience that they can reach, which in return becomes revenue for them. The core community is more of a stepping stone. I think the vast majority of the people that are buying things from Doodles, we're not talking about their merch shop or anything else. The people that have gone and bought those NFTs are by far their best customers and probably bring in more than anything else, unless I'm missing what Doodles have done in like the quote-unquote Web2 world. In this case, Doodles is one of the only NFT projects that successfully managed to break through the glass ceiling. When you grow big enough, you can slowly chip away at removing aspects of what the OG community was and rebrand it into something more corporate focused, which a lot of people blamed on Yuga for that one. Now to the most important part, Mushy's removal as community manager was insane. It shows the true colors of how Doodles values anything community-wise, bridging to base, hopping on spaces, stages, and podcasts, scheduled posts. These are product marketing decisions, not community. The harsh reality is Devin, Jordan, Mushy, and the other OG team members who spearhead the community are no longer around. No one in the original team but Scott, Mac, and Alfie are left. Scott's focus has always been his work and leaving a legacy, not for the community. Now, I don't want to go through all of this, but if we think of Bored Ape Yacht Club as an example, all the original founders are like gone, right? Like Garga's, I think, the only one that's still there. And we've seen this play out. You start something, you have this great idea, people want to be a part of it, and sometimes, you just kind of took a shot in the dark, was like, hey, I want to create something, and then you just might not have the skill set to continue to go and do that. Now that's, like I'm not trying to reword this in a way that's like, the people that were let go in any means weren't the people for those gigs, but in regards specifically to like those OG team members, we have to think of like how crazy lucky a lot of those things were. So the same kind of reaction has been happening. Kid Arcade, what's going on, brother? Thank you so much for having me on that. And guys, if you want to check it out, Kid Arcade, I was on a stream the other day for an interview. It was an absolute blast. Highly recommend you guys go and check that out. And I did retweet it on my X page if you follow me. So again, be sure to check that out. So Cool Cats kind of had this same thing where it broke out and there was all this massive problems. And as we mentioned on like the Friday or Thursday stream, all this negativity and focus went to, oh my God, Futureverse was the ones that are like ruining our community, and it was like, wait, what? So in a strange turn of events, instead of addressing any of that, Cool Cats put out this post saying, hey everyone, when I first set my sights on opening the Milk Jug, I knew I wanted to be a place where people could come together to bond over the best latte art in Cooltopia, share friendships and adventures, and ignite inspiration through the magic of creativity. I brought Joe, Artie, and of course Chugs along. He's the best brew maestro, and because I didn't know the first thing about opening a coffee shop, but I figured the more trusted minds, the better to overcome obstacles and fuel new ideas. I'd be lying if I told you it's been easy. We spilled plenty of cups of coffee. We had to change bean suppliers. And then there's Artie's inventions. Sometimes they have bugs like the Sleepinator 3.0 that one was something. And then there's Kira and Bones, the bane of our existence and fighting of the Shadow Wolves attempt to get to the Visium. If I only knew the power of the Visium before we open the Chug, more on that soon. On the flip side, we've created amazingly memorable experiences for the customers across Sapphire Town and beyond. We're proud of that, like the delivery app, and Joe nailed the tracksuit design. Wait until you see it. Our journeys together have truly just begun. The regulars at the Chug. The reason we wake up every morning before the sun rises. Wait, what exactly makes the sun rise? Oh, never mind. Anywho, everything we do is a work of heart. That's what matters. Can't wait to our story. Keep unfolding. We have so much to come. See you in the milk jug. Okay, so if you do socials at all, make the text bigger, people. Holy smokes, that was impossible to read. Anywho, you think Klon is going live in 90 minutes? Okay, cool. So they said they were going to have a Discord conversation, if I remember correctly, and thank you, Atari, for the reminder on that. But there was a lot of backlash regarding this, saying, oh, why didn't they put out a statement talking about these team members? We had some of them again go like completely rogue and freak out over certain things and like put a lot of blame, and it caused like quite a torpedo. And so like if you go through the comments here, we have people like saying, I'm lost for words. I truly don't understand how y'all read this, proofread this, and then read it a third time and thought, yep, this is the statement that will bring the community back and excited. Kind of agree. It feels, it didn't really inspire me in any way. Like, you get they're trying to write it as blue, but like with the situation, it's kind of weird. Not sure this announcement is trying to say anything. So many questions left. Was the whole team fired? Why were they fired? What is the reason? And what are the plans moving forward? So again, you can see kind of just this like fallout that ended up happening with that. And so we'll see, as Atari mentioned, that X Spaces or Discord call, we'll kind of find out and see what the conversation is from that. So do you know who Matt and John are? Well, these are the guys who created CryptoPunks, and Pix here wrote a really cool, quick little thread on them. So let's go over this quickly. Matt and John were so early to NFTs, they created them off-chain in 2011. They called it Androidify, customizable Android logo. It got so popular that people used it as their PFPs. Fun fact, some of the traits are similar to CryptoPunks. You can see what these things look like, and damn, they really do look like the early days of Android. Coming from the tech industry, it was only a matter of time till they discovered blockchain. So once Ethereum came around, it changed everything. On June 9th, 2017, CryptoPunks were born. Matt announced their experiment on Reddit, leading to the first Punks mint. Ironically, the platform, now known for its anti-NFT stance, helped launch the PFP NFT trend. At first, Punks traded for under $100. Soon, Rare started selling for thousands. Then the bear market hit. By 2018, Punks plummeted to under $100 once again. Can you guys imagine seeing CryptoPunks selling for a cent, $16? 1.3 ETH was $414 in 2018. How insane is that screenshot? In 2019, Matt and John created Autoglyph. Everyone who donated $35 in ETH to charity could mint one, but 2020 is when things started to heat up. At the end of 2020, Bitcoin rapidly doubled in price. All of the crypto followed. And soon it was the turn for CryptoPunks. Spring of 2021 is when things getting crazy. We saw sales of CryptoPunks for millions of dollars almost every week. Then we saw people declining $10 million offers on their punks, and Matt and John were ready for the next step. Now, just as a side note, I remember being at like 8Fest, and the guy, Richard, who was doing Manifold, he was wearing the 3D glasses, and I saw him in person. I remember it was like, yo, I know that guy from X, because he was rejecting like multiple $1 million offers on his CryptoPunk, and that's the vibe of the bull run. And we haven't had anything close to that, so we ain't there. And that's the punk, if you guys remember. On May 2021, they launched 20,000 Meebits, selling out in a Dutch auction at 2.4 ETH each. It generated over $73 million for Larva Labs. People were excited. Within a month, the first Meebit sold for over $1 million. A few $1 million plus sales later, UTA signed a deal to represent Meebits in film, video games, and publishing. And I don't know if we've seen any of the fruits of that labor, but something was off. Yes, price kept going up, but Matt and John started to struggle to keep up with the space. So in 2022, they took a bold step. They sold CryptoPunks and Meebits to Yuga Labs. Now that you've seen the full 5-year journey, was selling to Yuga Labs the right move for Matt and John? Share your thoughts in the comments. Well, I mean, the fact that they signed these deals and there was literally nothing that came of it, and now it feels like stuff's like actually happening with Meebits, apart from like a DAO with Yuga, I think that's pretty good. You know what I mean? And autoglyphs, I think, are still selling for like an unbelievable amount. Okay, so another thread here. Whenever I bookmark something on X, it like completely changes my algorithm. Like as soon as I bookmarked that, I refreshed it and I got another story about this. So do you guys know who G-Hose is? Once a dinosaur enthusiast, now the founder of a leading gaming blockchain. Aha! Mr. Axie Infinity himself. Gio spent his childhood collecting insects and fossils, and also playing video games like StarCraft, Diablo, and WoW, which he accessed during its private beta phase. His gaming passion was so intense that his parents decided to send him to boarding school. He first explored cryptocurrencies in 2011 as an alternate to traditional investment. Initially deterred by the complexity of purchasing Bitcoin, his interest deepened by 2017 when he began following Ethereum and discovered NFTs through the launch of CryptoKitties. After his involvement with CryptoKitties, Jeffrey discovered Axie Infinity. He envisioned it as the Pokemon of NFTs. He became an early contributor. His commitment deepened to the extent that he moved to Vietnam in early March 2018 to work closely with the founding team. So this is interesting because I actually didn't know that he wasn't a part of the founding team. He just found it and I guess got a part of it. It wasn't until 2021 that Axie truly exploded, driven largely by its popularity in the Philippines. Faced with massive growth, reaching over 350,000 active users and generating $85 million monthly, Axie team decided to create their own blockchain, Ronin Network. So we've got Ronin out there. There you go. Originally designed for Axie Infinity, the Ronin blockchain attracted other games like Pixels, which migrated from Polygon due to challenges with speed and fees. Benefiting from Ronin's gamer-focused features, Pixels saw an increase of daily active users from 5,000 to 300,000. So around these times of like explosive growth or, different points in history for all of this stuff. But for NBA Top Shot, I'm pretty sure it went from about 25,000 to 30,000 users all the way up to like 150,000 in like a month time span at a point. And even before that, it was like something like 4,000 exploded up to 30 and then just boom. Ronin Network continued to expand, and the health of its token, RON, strengthened. However, in February of this year, a significant security breach occurred. Geo's wallets were hacked, losing a total of 3,248 ETH, valued at approximately 9.7 million. Despite the hack, Ronin continued to grow and now stands as the leading blockchain for gaming, ranking 5th of the most used blockchains. Geo successfully transformed a network initially used to enhance Axie into the preferred place for gamers. Jeffrey, once a childhood passionate about fossils and video games, has become a leading figure in Web3, returning to his roots with Play to Earn. Recently, he shared his perspective on the future of the genre that has been so pivotal in his journey. And so there's a little bit of kind of a breakdown for that. And it's cool to see him kind of like these history lessons of all this stuff, because again, you see different people on the timeline, you don't know how they're a part of things. And again, for that guy, I thought he was a part, or it was like legitimately the founder, but he seems that he's just passionate about it and now helping lead the charge. Veda Research, this guy is a great follow if you want different takes on the timeline here, talking about tier 3 gaming tokens and exchanges. Do you know how much it costs to get on an exchange? He's saying, is listing your token on tier 2 sexes, centralized exchanges, worth it at this point? Tier 2 sexes, Bybit, KuCoin, OKX, Huobi, etc., charge $100,000 to $400,000 each. On top of that, you allocate a budget of $50,000 to $500,000 for key opinion leaders and marketing agencies. You allocate $500,000 to $5 million for potential buybacks to support the price. Add $50,000 to $100,000 to cover lawyers, tokenomics, consultants, and more, guys. Holy smokes, is it ever expensive to do things within the space. Now, it's interesting when you think about this, though, is because different tokens and collections, they've highlighted, hey, like we're on Bybit, KuCoin, etc. And like, you're going to have to make a mental note of, okay, they just potentially paid $100,000 plus to get the token listed. Did that have any positive effect? Was it cool as like a PR thing? Are people actually buying the token? Was that potentially $400,000 worth the spend? Those are the questions we need to have. Sammy.Mocha, who is the researcher for Mocha Network, as we highlighted earlier, was talking about the Igloo Inc., which is now the Pudgy Penguin parent company, and talking about Abstract, what was formerly known as Frame. He gives a little bit of a thread here saying their vision is to bring crypto to the mass consumer market. This is why they'll succeed. So Overpass IP plus Abstract equals Disney. Guys, remember the last time that we've had references for Disney? How often have they worked out positively? That said, as a former advisor to Frame, I had the pleasure of working closely with an extremely talented technical team. An incredible product, but it needed mass market distribution. This is where Pudgy comes in. They're ranked in greater than the 1 million plushie sales so far. Disney Deja Vu. Abstract away all the crypto jargon to make it consumer friendly. Pudgy has penetrated the masses through Walmart, Instagram, and numerous other platforms. They have universal appeal that are making them meaningful. Meaningful impact to lives. The recent rollout of Overpass is an IP framework for Pudgy Penguin holders, but it needs an effective tech solution under the hood to automate this process and ensure it is executed in an efficient way. Effective. Holy, I'm having a tough time reading today. Abstract, formerly Frame, and Pallet Protocol is the solution. The history of the Pudgy acquisition by Luca for $2.5 million in 2022 meant that community and team incentives were aligned from the outset. The community has gone on an arduous journey, creating a formidable bond, forming a solid foundation for the Pudgy funnel. Frame's Pallet Protocol enforces royalties at the contract level, which where have we seen that before? NFT royalty enforcement in a market downturn has its challenges. But plug this into the Overpass vision, and it acts as a real-world royalty solution. 13% yield repatriated to holders. Now, that's spicy. Royalty repatriation encounters many execution challenges, yet it happens across every industry. You'd be surprised at the royalty percent more widely, particularly entertainment. Abstract could enhance royalty payment mechanisms as it connects to the mass market through Pudgy. Beanie has the point. This acquisition could form the infrastructure for NFT IP to be plugged into and rolled out to the mass traditional markets using Pudgy Penguin's network effects. What could be next? 2 cards remain. We've already seen Van Eck wear a Pudgy Penguin PFP, Bitwise hold a Pudgy Penguin plushie, Frame uses cross-chain layer, Zero Tech, and ZK Sync for gaming. Some potential there. Yada, 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 yada. But true, Atari's saying, but what about the Frame airdrop? That's all we care about. Absolute facts. But I mean, okay, going over that, does that make you more bullish on Pudgies? Would you go out there and buy them at, what are they at? They're at like some unbelievably high prices, correct? Correct? I could have just clicked right there. 11.69. We've seen in the past day, they went from 10.44 ETH all the way up here to 13.9, but the floor is at 11.6. We click on this first one here, go check on OpenSea. Hopefully it's listed and we can tell. Well, the best offer for it, $9,000. Holy, wait, guacamole. Wait, the best offer is only 2 ETH? How the hell does that work? Yo, that's crazy. Why is the best offer on OpenSea 2 ETH? Unbelievable. Okay, so 12.9 is the floor. So upwards of $44,000. If you had a bunch of money, theoretically, you could have made a couple grand in like a day if you bought before. But of course, like, you know, you'd have to have hindsight on all that stuff. Okay, so some conversation here about Roham, the man behind Dapper Labs and Flow. Jared saying, I worked at Dapper Labs for 3 years and worked with Roham consistently for most of it. For my entire career, he treated me with respect and had my back. Those who have worked directly with him would say the same thing. Roham is even-tempered, thoughtful, charismatic, and I respect him as an entrepreneur. He works incredibly hard, gives people autonomy, and I learned a lot from him. Now, what's kind of funny about this is, like, that's a positive post, right? But there is so many people that are just dogging on Roham over like certain things that didn't go right with Flow, Dapper, and different like deals around NBA Top Shot. And it's just, I don't know. It's just funny seeing the complete different side of perspectives. You sold mine for 0.9. Holy smokes, Atari. My goodness. Could have been a millionaire. So freaking bad. Okay, Thorn here with a super hot take, but let's kind of roll it into something. The sooner you realize there is no esports community in any meaningful sense, the better. Esports is a bunch of video game tournaments, and the people watching, playing in, and working them have zero that unites them all beyond the video game tournaments. Okay, so that's kind of interesting because when you like stop for a second and you think about it, what brings people together about the esports scene? Well, I mean, for the most part, I don't really have any friends that watch any of the esports. Like, yo, Jeremy watches Call of Duty League, but other than that, there's almost nobody that I know. I've never really reached out or tried to watch it with other people, per se. I've gone to the Overwatch event in Toronto before they changed it from the Overwatch League, and the vibe from it was just, okay, we're there and we're kind of like watching video games. It didn't really feel like any kind of like a connection for it. But is that because people weren't as in love with the different brands of the teams? Is that for the teams not being competitive? What is it? And so I saw this post that I retweeted yesterday, and it was talking about the Call of Duty Major Championship. And they still have like a structured league. So if you're familiar with some of the teams, you'll kind of recognize them. But it was the New York Subliners and Atlanta FaZe in the finals. However, one of the most followed teams that are out there in Optic Gaming, if you've heard of it, weren't playing in the final three and were knocked out early. So they highlighted that for the major four viewership stacks, the peak viewer was down 54% comparatively to the previous major, a month or two ago. And for the average viewers, it was down 48%. So even 10% less than what the peak was for the previous major. And so the point that I kind of had with this, and I'm going to go back to it, I was talking about like the brand value of people really caring about something. And with that being said, listen, we got optic.root, we got scump.root. We've got the brand covered on the .root names, but I really think it's wild how much we undervalue the brand significance, the celebrity significance of different individuals that are majorly popular, because just looking at these stats, it's a 50% drop comparatively when you don't have those bigger brands in there. Kind of crazy. Okay, talking about chimpers here, some bullishness. Minted for 0.07 ETH, no second collection, no token, never took venture capital, consistently ranked top 10 community on NFT Inspect, in the top 5 of all NFT projects and Web2 socials, strong, active community, non-stop delivery, highly regarded by people that matter. And so when you check out this chart, it's comparatively all these different NFTs. My face is in the way, but it is number 200 with the floor of 0.22 ETH or $743. So my question, kind of, thought exercise, if you will, if you were to go out to somebody, just, a friend that's kind of interested in the space, they're like, okay, we know that you're in these things. What's going on? And you tell them this list, right? I'm not going to repeat it again, but you see it on the screen here. If you go and tell them this list and say, hey, this is something, would they care? Would they care? Or would they say, okay, well, I'm buying this as like a collectible. I want to be a part of a community. Okay, like there's not going to be a token for it. Like they minted fairly inexpensively. They're growing. The community's good. And this is a question that we could pretty much pose for everything right now, because I still think that for the most part, we struggle and we have all these reasons of like, yeah, we should pay attention to this. And these are all fantastic things. And I think the Chimpers team is absolutely one of the most hardworking in the space. But I don't know, for like your average person, unless you're hardcore into crypto and you care about all these facets, why would somebody that's not in the space? So this is your little bit of a roll call here from Schiller. Absolutely love this piece from AZ Flynn. Stay organized. Your Chromebook should look like this, an encyclopedia. They have a whole bunch of bridges, swap things, everything else. You don't even need to go do this, but just go clean up your bookmarks. If you have a whole bunch of downloaded images and stuff, go clear that out. Files of all sorts. I went through that the other day, and it's funny because a couple of my posts, if you do follow me on X, were actually from me going and cleaning some things up because, years ago, I saved these screenshots where there was actually a League of Legends esport team. I think this is out of China. It was Machi Esports, and I don't know if it was Machi Big Bro himself that was like owning this team, but they were actually sponsored by Bored Ape Yacht Club, or at least in the name of. So they had the logo on that, and like nobody talks about it, but it was really, really cool. And I found this image, which is like just crazy. This sold for like 12 ETH way back in the 21 run. And there was a couple of other one-of-one collections, if you happen to remember some of these. And it was by Degens. Now, they don't have the same branding at all. It's now like an analytic and research site. Their floor NFTs are trading for like $30. And so obviously there was a huge pivot. But just to the sense of like going to clean up your wallet, sorry, not wallet, but your files and whatnot, you never know what history you're going to come across. All right, Jesus saying the former Gala Miranda's team is now working on an MMO, Mooncast Online. So we can take a kind of quick look at the video behind this for anybody that doesn't know. Gala Games said, hey, we're going to make this Miranda's game our flagship. This was several years ago. They had huge BlizzCon type events that were streamed. And then recently they ended up firing the entire team and hired like a Chilean studio to take over production for this. And so I guess the team that was let go from that other game is now still trying to do something within the space. So now you get to follow along if you think Mooncast Online looks kind of neat. 99% of all really smart investors I know are obsessed with the TON ecosystem right now. Telegram seems to be the only place showing huge user growth and lowest CAC, which I have no idea what the hell that means. Crazy no one on crypto Twitter talks about it. So this is your thing, right? Have you heard about TON? Have you ever gone out and actually taken the initiative to learn about it? I'll put my hand up first and say I haven't really done that, but yesterday I went out and followed the TON blockchain just so I have a basic awareness of it. It's got 2.3 million followers. I follow like 5,000 people, and there's only 200 of those people that follow this. So again, it seems like there is a very huge disconnect, and I don't know if it's like a Western thing or what, but people aren't paying attention to this. The open network TON is putting crypto in every pocket. By building the Web3 ecosystem in Telegram, TON is making digital ownership easy for billions. Now, if you follow Crypto Eddie, who's been talking about Futureverse, and he's a huge XRP advocate, she posted a video the other day that's really worth going to check out, and she mentions Futureverse in it because it was the same time as the Animoca Brands partnership, and at the end of the video, she posted an interview with Yat Siu, like the CEO guy of Animoca Brands, who was talking about how they're very much involved with TON. They're potentially going to have 100 billion users or whatever, 100 million, sorry, not 100 billion, 100 million users using Web3 potentially this year. And she put that in the same video that was talking about Futureverse and trying to reference the two. And so I'm sitting here, listen, are we talking about Silo and the notification system? Holy smokeroonies. And this is the question though, right? At the same time is, okay, there's the TON blockchain, there's the root network, there's all these different protocols. How many of these things are actually connected? Obviously, Animoca is just kind of a subpart that might be investing, but what if there is kind of this massive ecosystem where things are built on different rails? Leaves you thinking. Okay, so Captain Alluvium talking about how they bought Carrot Coin and making a reference to the Axie Infinity token, AXS, or one of them, because I think there's a few ones like SLP as well. But at a point, they went from $1.07 to $164 per token. Think about that. It went from $1.07 to $164. The more you're in the space, the more you see those numbers, the more I'm like, okay, I don't know about these NFTs, man. Listen, we might need to be going over and looking at these tokens a little bit more. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about RWAs for a second, real world assets. And if you guys don't know, I do a podcast called RWA Segments, interviewing a whole bunch of geniuses, because I'm not a genius, but I like learning from people. And it's been an absolute blast. The links to those are in the YouTube description below or in my X profile. But there is a lot that's going on within the real world asset space, because I think, first of all, it helps legitimize things, because for us younger folk, I think we're like, hey, woo, we got these images, other kind of cool things and whatnot. But the aspect of having these real world assets tokenized, I think opens up a much bigger and broader demographic for it. So I just typed this in, and the next few posts are just ones I typed in RWA and seen what the feed gave me. So is there any other real world asset project that comes close to Rio in terms of tokenomics and fundamentals? If so, mention it below. If not, stop asking, what is the next Rio? To clarify, Rio Network isn't done yet, so you don't need to look for the next Rio. You can still do your own research and secure your spot. So what the hell is this Realio? Not investment advice, eliminating barriers to invest in, trade, and leverage digital REPE and other real-world assets through DeFi. So again, almost 100,000 followers on that. Web3 ecosystem for digital and real-world assets. Market cap, 95 million. I guess that post was older because it looks like the token is still out there, so I don't know why that was saying you can kind of pay attention and look. But tokenization of real-world assets, we have Web3 compliant. Just kind of quick reads of these websites. Nothing too crazy. Let's go to the next one. Ejax going large with their RWA marketplace. EgoMart, a platform that enables users to purchase, sell, and manage any tokenized real-world assets on the blockchain, also enabling fractionalized ownership, which will drive liquidity and other flexible options to investors. Okay, so EgoChain, have you ever heard about it? Apparently nobody that I'm following has either. A high-performance parallel blockchain for real-world applications designed to empower the future through innovation. So going to check out their website again. The idea with this, because I know you guys love judging, not FUD Friday, but you you like the website? Do you vibe with it? Do you think, we need some more info? So tokenize electric vehicles on EgoChain and a whole bunch of other things. EgoChain is a permissionless parallel blockchain protocol designed for the tokenization of real-world assets such as electric vehicles. Very interesting. They sound like they're trying to be a niche for it. This facilitates the fractional ownership and frictionless trading of these assets, aiming to unlock their liquidity and stimulate global adoption, particularly for underperforming assets in the traditional market. Okay, that's kind of cool. One of the strongest RWA players with team consistently building, Leo X Galileo Protocol, is working on top-notch luxury marketplace. You can buy Rolex, Louis Vuitton bags, and any other things using your tokens. Bullish. And so this is interesting because I know that my mom's like into Louis Vuitton bags. And so you always need like that one thing that people actually care about to be like, oh, I'll pay attention to that. So if you're watching, hi mom. Galileo Protocol, empowering luxury brands, yada, yada, yada. They have a link tree. Let's go check out and see what their site, if it looks good. Update your nebulous here. Sign up for the KYC. I am just trying to see the website. Thank you very much. In the world of luxury. So they have CoinGecko, Chainlink, Crypto News, Polygon, Carbon, Ethereum, a couple of other different things. You know, some of the other websites so far kind of vibe with a little bit more. This one, you know, I don't necessarily love it per se. Feels a little dark that way. But anyway, there are some websites regarding RWAs. And so like the question, right? Again, we're going to try to give out like these thought experiments. You don't have to answer or anything. But what real world asset would you care about to kind of jump into the marketplaces of these things, right? And is there anything that you would actually want to own? Would you kind of just say, I want like a fractionalization of it? Or would you want the entire thing where you just own that token? Because again, on that RWA segments podcast that I've talked about, we've talked with individuals that are tokenizing land. Pay like $5,000, you own a plot of land somewhere in America. Kind of crazy. Okay. NFT Bark Steve here saying, I've been thinking about Zedrun lately. Its fall from grace is easily one of the all-time disappointments in Web3. Sheesh. We had a whole thing on Zedrun last week's stream, so be sure to check that out. When I showed my friends and family a monkey JPEG, they didn't get it with Bored Ape Yacht Club. When I showed them Zed, the breeding, the racing, the ownership, they got it. It was a real product. My kids and I love naming new horses and randomly doing races on a summer afternoon. My friends outside of Web3 would ask, how's your horse stable going? There were third-party tools, high-quality content creators, and a real community of people participating in tournaments. Even those who own no horses enjoyed watching races. Zed had big investors like Mark Cuban, big names like Darren Rovell talking about it, and big partnerships like Budweiser. We were certain one day we'd be sitting in a sportsbook in Las Vegas betting on Zedrun races, sometimes with our own horses on the track. But then the game slowly got worse, more confusing, and more complicated. It got to the point when I couldn't even figure out when and and how to race my horses. The community was ignored, the product suffered, and people slowly gave up. It's a real bummer, so much promise, and now it's a shadow of itself, seemingly in a death spiral. Zedrun is a cautionary tale for all NFT brands. Nothing is too big to fail. And it's wild to think about just the entire landscape of what we thought was going to be amazing. And we all had I could go back through like tweets that I had, and there was some things that are probably like absolutely freaking awful, right? Like, Shell, why the hell do you say that? You look like a fool. But a lot of people thought, hey, this is a fun game. This has the potential, but things can always happen, right? The user base dies out. The game stops being fun. The team screws something up. There's a lot of things that could go sideways with it. But ultimately, when Zedrun was at its peak, you have to remember, people were putting tons of money into it. It was the talk of the town. People were excited about things. You'd win some decent prizes if you had a good horse. And it was the aspect of everybody kind of coming together, similar with NBA Top Shot. If you can create that aspect of bringing a whole bunch of people together over a common cause, holy wag me. All right, so Luke and Nets, jumping back over to the Pudgy Penguins here for a second. This was a crazy take. So if you're somebody who's bearish on NFTs, you are going to just absolutely punch your screen hearing this take, but let's kind of go over it for a second. So he says, there'll be multiple 100 ETH floor from a profile photo standpoint this cycle. I'm betting on myself to go to 200 ETH plus on Pudgy Penguins, and the reason why is because of the unlocks of leverage in NFTs. Traditional finance has completely run dry on margin of leverage. That is how this money sloshes around and why the ETF is so big. NFTs are going to have ridiculously violent moves once we start catching a bid. It's going to be violent to the upside and downside. Just be ready for it. It's going to be volatile. Wasabi is a company that basically has mastered being able to leverage those things, whether through call options and other things like longs and shorts. Things are going to get really explosive through them. So this is a very interesting take that I partially agree with. There was a gentleman that we highlighted forever ago on XFeed that was in Korea, and he said NFT finance was the next big wave. And our only kind of reference to that is, okay, there's different liquidity pools and like lending options in terms of, I'm trying to think, but like, I mean, there's Gandhi, NFT Fi, Parallel Network does different things like that, BenDAO, and then there's ones like Floor Protocol that are trying to take a token and then make it into fungible tokens and then leverage the price off of that, and then you have all these leverage markets, yada, 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 yada. And you just think about how many different things can come into the space, and when you looked at the launch of Blast, one of their original things was the fact that almost all of the protocols on Blast were some kind of like leveraged trading market. And now if that's able to be rung in NFTs for these ones that have been around, that now have that historical aspect, that have, you know, had a ton of funding to potentially continue and ramp out and have these things that people want, you know, these utility tokens, the question between historical versus yield value, whatever. I don't think this is a crazy take. I totally get people could argue with it for sure. But we have to remember how many things are still around and how right now the market's kind of dead, but things are still getting a bid or pudgies because I think people are thinking that there's going to be a token. Now, speaking of token, look at this. Holy smokes. The amount of like insanity coming from token unlocks in July is insane. So like Uniswap, there's $77 million for Arbitrum, $105 million worth of tokens being open out here, right? Ronin Network, 76 million. Is that going to affect the price of things? If that unlock happens and the price doesn't move, do people suddenly become bullish and the token roars? Ethereum name service has 39 million that's coming out here. Really phenomenal post. That's kind of crazy to think about the token unlocks that are going to happen this month in this sort of market. Yo, are you playing Grumble in the background? Yo, I am. Dude, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, but they've upped the win rate like the past 12 hours. It's crazy. Okay, I'm going to sound kind of cynical here, but the point of this that I want to make is we can see clear as day how everybody is into what they're into, and that's basically it, right? XFeed, I really try to cover everything within the space. If you follow me on X, it might be kind of annoying if you don't really care about root or featureverse, and I apologize for that, but I usually tweet a lot about that. But for this XFeed, we try to cover the landscape as a whole, because again, I'm not an expert on a lot of things, but there's a lot of people with great insights, and it's kind of fun talking about the market with you, so that's why we're here. With that said, Jemmy here saying, let it be known that the entire Solana community around the world came together for the global movement of Solana Summer Kickoff. I had no idea Solana was even doing anything. I don't know what this Summer Kickoff is. I haven't seen it on my timeline at all. I follow a lot of things, but again, we're all into our individual things. So apparently, guys, if you haven't heard, it's Solana Summer. Say what you want, but you just can't replicate this community spirit and sense of belonging that everyone has on Solana. This energy is unmatched. Unmatched. So here's a little bit of nostalgia for you. Do you guys remember the Bionicle movie? Oh my goodness. As a kid, I absolutely loved it. I would totally pay big bucks to be able to get like these cases, because I remember going to like Walmart and the different kids store, their kids toy store, and listen, Bionicle was a banger. Cool cats forever. I remember when Pudgy Penguins had the largest FUD, floor price went down to below a 0.6 ETH a penguin for Pudgy Penguins. New ownership, no one believed in them anymore. Not gonna lie, I was one of those people, and I regret it not getting one at that price. I believe in Cloncast and Cool Cats. So why am I highlighting this? Well, the aspect is we have no idea what the hell is gonna happen. Remember at the time, FUD, everybody hated it. Penguins are at 0.6 ETH. Imagine buying it for 0.6 ETH back in the day and where you'd be right now. Holy smokes. Insane. They just pushed back the Klon VC 3 hours. That's a little suspicious, Atari. Oh, we got to FUD it. Fun it. Also, I have no idea when the hell this is happening, if it's in an hour, if it's in 2 hours or 3 hours, but I think we're in like the 3-hour window roughly, DYOR type deal. But the Root Punks, I'm actually rocking one of these as my profile picture right now. It's one of the first PFP collections that's launching on Root. The guy's called the Shillverse. I swear to God, I've gotten about 60 DMs, not lately because most people have realized. I had somebody that emailed the business email being like, yo, can I get a Root Punk? And I'm like, you son of a gun. That's a different person. And so those are launching later today. Again, really cool aspect. It shows the I think this shows at the same time that like no matter what chain, crypto punks as a whole really have an influence, even though I think like if you're going to pick like a PFP to do, I think he already has like another collection on the XRPL that's similar. These are going to be different. It's like $20 for them. So again, early stages, I think it's like less than 3,000 supply for them. So wish them the best of luck with it. And I'm going to grab a couple of them. 3 hours. Okay, Atari. Thank you. Just in, Sony to launch Bitcoin and crypto exchange in Japan after buying the Amber platform. What the hell is Sony doing in crypto? Is everybody realizing this is the alpha? Amber will be renamed as S-Blocks. Shout out Mr. Metablocks. So here's the thing that happens. We have people that are huge in the traditional world. They'll launch NFTs and continue to do art in the traditional world and then realize, hey, we can launch products that are Web2 based as well as Web3. And Murakami here, Takashi, from their Murakami Flowers X account, the highly popular trading card game, Murakami Flowers collectible trading card game, 108 Flowers is now available as an NFT. Available for 48 hours only, starting July 15th at 4 p.m. GMT. So let me go and look right quickly here. If you guys were going to take a guess at what you thought the Murakami Flowers were listed at, what do you think they would be? It's a collection of 10,158. And the floor price is 0.1748 for a historical artist. 27,008th volume, particularly about $600 right now. I actually kind of wanted one of these back in the day, but again, for like the X amount of dollars, yeah, I don't know about that one. But if we go to the highest last sale, holy smokes, look at a couple ones here. We have 100 ETH on this bad boy. We have 89 ETH on this one, which, oh my goodness, what was this at that point? We can go through. They actually, wow, they flipped it. So 65 ETH to 89 ETH, and that was May. That was the same day flip. What the hell is going on, brother? At the time, that was $261,000 for this. What do you think? $261,000. Listen, if respectfully, I think if you pay that much for an NFT, you got to get it tattooed on you too. Just you have to have that memory. True. So other news about like the crypto takeover mainstream, Chelsea FC, if you happen to be a fan of the English Premier League or kind of, I guess, any soccer with the Euros going on, Bing X. This is their tweet saying, special delivery air dropping our new training kit for the 24-25 season with Bing X official. We're seeing more and more massive attempts at bringing awareness for different exchanges and just crypto in general. It felt like there was a huge stigma after the whole FTX debacle. Now people are feeling it. You know what I mean? People are feeling it. Some crazy ass news if you haven't seen. Polkadot spent $37 million in outreach during just the first half of 2024 and has less than 2 years of runway left. Now, for a huge component of this, where if we think, I don't think it's specifically in this one. I had a bookmark somewhere else. I honestly, there was way more bookmarks that I had, but I needed to stop. So a lot of stuff over the weekend when you have a Monday that you didn't talk about. But 37 million for Polkadot. They had, I think, like half, if not more of that spent on a couple of different like key opinion leaders, if you will, out on the timeline from like those big names like BitBoy, Wendy, yada, yada, yada. And I guess like the list got leaked And it's insane the amount of money that people are getting for highlighting these things. And to be honest, I had no idea that Polkadot was even trying to do anything. Like within the NFT space, right? Like if you think back to a couple of launches earlier in the year, you're like, okay, yeah, like I remember when this was like the talk of the town for a day, and you at least have that in motion. I can't name a single day that I was like, yeah, Polkadot's the talk of the town. Unbelievable. As per usual, great show. Atari, you know we're wrapping it up. Unbelievable. This guy knows. But that's it for this edition of XFeed. Thank you guys so much for coming through. If you are wanting support in a little bit of a different way, again, on Twitch, we do have the subscriptions. If you happen to have an Amazon Prime, you can use that for free. Or on YouTube, if you want to do the tier 1 subscription thing, it's like $2.99 a month. You can buy me a McDonald's coffee. Hell yeah, Brewy. Appreciate that. But otherwise, you guys tuning in is all I need. And again, if you're wanting to hear a little bit more about me, the RWA podcast, RWA Segments podcast is in the link below and in my X page. And of course, yesterday we did do the Kid Arcade interview, and that was like 55 minutes of just yapping. It was beautiful. And I did share that on the X page.